with anybody that will be available to you. We will do resources at the end of this broadcast, and also give the information where you could find different resources around Chicago in regard to counseling and what counseling it's all about. So I want you to be conscious that this topic it's a little bit sensitive, and it could spark emotions at any given point. If you have to log off and take time for yourself, please do so. And I'll be conscious of the content, just checking in with anybody that logs in today. Thank you. We'll get started. The definition of grief. What is grief? Grief is unexpected response to the loss of a person, relationships, situations, or significant aspects of life. It is the process of adaptation that involves emotions, thoughts, physical changes, and adjustments in social life after the loss or unexpected loss of someone, right? And we're going to talk about the human loss, right? Grief due to human loss. This experience often creates a profound emotional impact and might lead to feelings of sadness, pain, longing, and changes in daily life. Human loss involves a process of adapting to a new reality in which the person is no longer present in the same way it was before. Before I get started in regards to talking about the experiences and the stages of loss, I would like to bring up some literature review in regards to the five stages of grief that is been best known by a theory created by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. This model of the five stages of grief was brought by a Sweden American psychiatrist, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, devoted much of her career to the studying of terminal ill patients and supporting individuals through the dying process. Based on her observations and clinical work for palliative care, she proposed a model describing the five common stages that people might experience during grief. Those are denial, anger, bargain, depression, and acceptance. This model has been widely used to help understand the emotional response that may arise following a significant loss. It is important to know that these stages are not necessarily experienced in a fixed order, and not everyone will experience all of them. Grief is a highly individual process that varies from person to person. And we have to bring a little bit of attention to this literature review because it is the most common model used when we want to explain grief to our clients, to our patients, to the community. Grief could be experienced for human loss or different changes in life. It doesn't have to be the loss of a human. It could be the loss of a relationship. It could be the loss of maybe a friendship, or even relocating to a different neighborhood, losing all the support that you had around. We grieve different stages in our life, but the most common one it's the loss of losing someone that passed away. These are the stages of grief: denial, anger, bargain, depression, and acceptance. And we will go in depth into each one of them in a second. Denial. Denial is often the first reaction to loss. During this stage, a person might have difficulty accepting what happened and might feel the situation is not real. This response serves as a temporary protective mechanism that helps the individual gradually process and absorb the reality of the loss. As a natural coping strategy, denial can provide emotional relief while the person begins to adjust to the impact of the loss. Many times we experience this as the first set or onset of symptoms, right? Or in the stages of grief. We want to make sure that we are okay with ourselves and we're trying to make sense of the impact of the loss. We deny that it happened. Sometimes questions of this is not happening, or even feelings of this is not real come into play in this first stage. The second stage is anger. As the reality of the loss becomes more apparent, feelings of anger and frustration might emerge. During this stage, the person might question why the loss occurred and experience resentment towards others, themselves, or even to the circumstances surrounding the loss. Anger is a common and natural response to grief, often reflecting the pain, helplessness, and the sense of injustice associated with the loss. Many people become angry at themselves, even questioning what should have or what could have changed the outcome. And this sometimes might even bring frustrations to others, right? For being alive, let's say in an accident where one person lost their life and the other one survived. So there's different stages in this anger stage that have to be considered. And this is when I will, as a therapist, will ask people to start thinking about going on counseling to navigate the circumstances individually in therapy. The bargaining stage. During this stage, the person might think about different ways that the situation could have been prevented. It is common to reflect on what could have been done differently or wish that an event had unfolded in another way. Individuals might find themselves dwelling on the if and only or what if thoughts as they try to make sense of the loss and regain sense of control. Bargaining is a neutral part of the grieving process and reflects the desire to change an outcome that no longer be altered. It is important to remember that grief is highly individual experience and that each person moves through it in their own pace. And this is when we becomes a little bit difficult if we are in a family sharing the same loss of an individual. A lot of the family members might experience grief in different stages. One might be in the denial state, but the other one is in the bargaining stage. And conflict within the family could start emerging during this period or during this process. Depression. Depression is characterized by profound feelings of sadness, emotional pain, and sense of emptiness. During this stage, the person begins to fully confront the reality of the loss and its impact of their life. They might experience feelings of loneliness, hopelessness, fatigue, or lack of motivation. Activities that were once enjoyable might no longer bring pleasure, and daily responsibilities can feel overwhelming. This stage is a natural response to the emotion weight of the loss and reflects the process of mourning what has been lost. This stage is also very important, and sometimes it will require clinical intervention and counseling. A lot of people cannot come forward or come out of this stage, and it takes a long time. Like I mentioned before in the presentation, a lot of individuals will experience grief in different stages, and sometimes one stage might last longer than the other. There is no right or wrong answer on how a person grieves. However, sometimes people will lose their patience with an individual living in the same house, asking them to maybe look at different perspective when the person is still dealing with the stage of depression or anger. It is complicated, and it could complicate the individual dynamics in the household. Please, if I urge that we look for help and individual help when this scenario comes into play in a house. It could really help out the person that is grieving and other individuals in the family. Acceptance. Acceptance occurs when the person is able to acknowledge the reality of the loss and begins to adapt to new stages of life. During this stage, individuals gradually learn to move forward while integrating the loss into their lives. They might begin to regain sense of stability, reemerge in daily activities, and find new meaning and purpose. It is important to emphasize that acceptance does not mean forgetting the person who was lost and no longer feeling sadness, but rather involve learning to live with the absence in a healthy way while maintaining meaningful memories and emotional connections to the loved one. Acceptance reflects on the ongoing process of adjustment, resilience, and healing. And I believe that everybody wants to reach this stage when they're grieving a loved one, and this is the reality. The loss, it's sometimes many times unforgettable. But the meaning of acceptance is not really forgetting about the person that passed away, but rather accepting that they're no longer part of this world, and that we have to find sense of healing and resilience and adjustment to play out um, our life and the life that affects others, right? Especially when it's a spouse, when it's a grandmother, a grandfather, right? That is usually our support system, right? When we lose those significant key players in our life, there could be a sense of hopelessness for the kids or the people that are left behind. Many times, this acceptance stage might feel like a selfish stage of self perseverance, but please do not feel guilty of feeling acceptance in this stage. To the contrary, it's self love to move forward and to self love to help others move forward in this stage, giving sensitivity to their process also. So I will be open to talk to anybody dealing with the stress of loss during this talk at the end of this podcast. If we could just preserve a little bit of time, if anybody wants to reach out for help, we'll be always here to be present to help you navigate any emotional um, feelings that you might be feeling due to grief. Once again, it is important to know that these stages do not always occur at the same order, nor are they experienced in the same way by everyone. Grief is a highly individual process, and people might move back and forth between stages, experience several stages simultaneously, or not experience all of them. Each person grieves the journey in a unique and influenced by personal, cultural, spiritual, and situational factors. This is very important. A lot of people might use the strength based coping skills, right? And the influence of personal networks might be put into place. Cultural beliefs are also a big part of grief, right? With different cultures here in Chicago, we know that a lot of people have different rituals that might come into play when losing someone. Someone might be inclined to use black clothing, right, for one period of time. Others put significant altars in in their house, lighting up candles and putting personal items of the person that was deceased, right? Some other people just do memorials, right, um, to honor and to remember the legacy of the person that passed away. People will go to church and become more spiritual in their journey, and just finding the sense of hope in a spirit or bigger being that they believe it, or God, confining in God in this sense, right? And every situation and every person is different, right? And we have to respect and be conscious of those individuals with different beliefs and the changes that might occur in different stages of grief, right? Throughout the grief process, individuals gradually learn to cope with and adapt to new reality in which what was has been lost is no longer present. Over time, grief can help people adjust to the changes brought upon the loss, develop new ways of moving forward, and finding meaning while counting to honor the memories of the significant of what was lost. Okay. And for today's topic of of this month, even though it's June and the month of May just passed, we celebrated Memorial Day for all those fallen uh, military individuals that have lost their life in battle. Um, and I want to take a unique moment to pay respects to all those individuals that have sacrificed their life for us and for our liberty here in this country. Uh, we also have to bring attention that there's a unique aspect of military grief that our families endure when we lost an individual in active duty, right? Understanding their experience of the military families, it's important. So I would like to take a second of moment of silence just to respect all of those individuals that have lost their lives and bring attention and comfort to those families that are experiencing loss and grief due to a loss of the significance. Thank you very much for that moment of silence. Thank you for those who are connecting, and thank you to the families for understanding and logging in to this presentation regarding military grief and military grief for families. Okay, I will go ahead and get started. In this sense, the grief it's public and private grief. Military families experience a deeply personal loss. They also take part in public ceremonies that honor their loved one sacrifice. Military funerals, honors, and commemorative events can provide recognition, comfort, and support. The public nature of mourning can also bring intense emotions and additional challenges. Okay. Sudden and traumatic deaths, loss may occur as a result of combat, accidents, or even suicide. The unexpected nature of the death can intensify the emotional impact. It is common for individuals to experience shock, disbelief, intense sadness, and traumatic stress. Culture and military expectations. Military culture promotes values such as strength, discipline, resilience, a strong sense of duty. Survivors may feel pressure to remain strong during the grieving process. Emotional expression might be limited or suppressed due to the cultural and military expectation. And this is not talked bad about any cultural military expectations when it comes to grief, but we just bring in attention that some of the families might experience grief in a different, challenging way, trying to make sense of their loss while participating in this um, honoring events, which could suppress some of the feelings that they might be feeling at the moment. I give my heart to the families experiencing a loss. Um, in any given point of their lives. And we want to promote resilience, and we want to promote a support for those families. That is the reason we opted to bring attention to different cultures of grief when it comes to military families. The loss of military community. The death of the service member can bring significant changes to the family as well and the family life. Some of the families may experience a reduction of support networks, challenges in benefits or available resources, feeling of isolation. Adjusting to a new reality without the military community support can be challenging as well. Meaning and legacy. And it's very important that we talk about this because most of the families could also have a big impact in this. Grief is often accompanied by pride in the service and sacrifice of the loved one. Preserving the honor and the legacy of the deceased can support the healing process. It is common to experience mixed emotions, including pride, sadness, anger, and guilt. Military grief is a complex experience that combines a personal loss and public recognition, traumatic impact, and sudden deaths, uh, influence of military culture, changes in support and networks, searching for the meaning of the legacy. Recognizing these characteristics help provide more sensitive and effective support to military personnel, veterans, and their families. I want to make sure that there is resources during this podcast and to the understanding of what grief counseling is and where can we find it. Grief counseling is a therapeutic process designed to help individuals cope with the loss of the loved one and adjust to the emotional, social, and practical changes that occurred after a death. It is goal is to provide support, understanding, and the tools to navigate the grieving process in a healthy way. The goals of grief counseling is to facilitate the expression of emotions related to the loss, to help individuals understand normal grief reactions, to develop healthy coping strategies, and also to support the adaptation to a new reality without the deceased person. It's also to promote resilience and emotional well being, to help preserve meaningful memories and the legacy of the long loved one. Common reactions during grief are the following also, right? The feelings of sadness, anger, guilt, anxiety, loneliness, and I have to bring this up too, even the feeling of relief in some circumstances. Those circumstances might be when we have a parent or a loved one that experience chronic illness, right? And we see him or see her suffering the deterioration of their body. Many times this brings also the stages of grief, even when the person is still alive. And we're grieving the loss of the person that was once healthy and active, and now it's perhaps bedbound. So many reactions of the grieving process is also relief when we let go of that person so they could stop their pain. And a lot of families that have responsibilities of caretaking for a chronically ill person will go through also this grieving stage while the person is still alive. So counseling is also helpful for the persons that are caregivers uh, for individuals with chronic illness. With that being said, there's also physical changes that happen when we're grieving. Fatigue could also play a big impact, right? Changes in appetite. You might be overeating or not eating at all. Sleep disturbances is a very common one where insomnia plays a big part in the stages of grief. Physical aches and pains. Our mental health is not separated from our physical health, so our body it will have a direct impact of the loss. So physical aches and pains that were not there before might start presenting themselves too. And the lack of energy, loss of interest of doing certain activities around the house, even maybe cooking for the family, or even just going out there to different social events might become a very difficult task during the grieving process. There's also cognitive changes in grief that could happen, right? Difficult concentrating, maybe perhaps confusion, disbelief, and recurring thoughts about the loss. And this is where a lot of people go spiraling, thinking of ways that could have been changed, things that could have been said, and unfortunately, the person is no longer there. So this is when we encourage to talk to somebody, a professional, or use your resources with your inner circle. Behavioral changes could also happen. A person might feel social withdrawal or feelings of isolation where you don't want to talk to anybody and you just want to be in your room. Frequent crying, the crying spells happen often. Sometimes it could happen at school, sometimes even interrupting events or even at work. If the crying spells are often impairing you to fulfill your daily activities, that's maybe a sign of depression as well. And sometimes we urge for help. And changes in daily routines where the person feels very debilitated to even get up and just do regular activities around the house. Okay. When to seek professional help. It might be beneficial to seek professional support when grief significantly interferes with the daily functioning. There are persistent symptoms of depression or anxiety. There are intense feelings of hopelessness, or thoughts of self-harm or suicide are present. There is difficult accepting the loss after an extended period of time. If you see yourself or know somebody that is going through a grieving process and you spot any of these feelings, or the person might just say, I don't want to live anymore, or things like that, make sure that you look for help or ask that person to seek help immediately. As professionals, we don't take lightly when a person expresses themselves and thinking that they don't want to live anymore. And there's always help. There's 988, which is the suicide prevention line, where instead of calling 911, 988 is used to dial and connect you with resources and support that would connect you with a professional that could deal with this impact of grief or any other mental health conditions that you might be experiencing. We urge that this number be located in your home, sometimes in the refrigerator. Just put the significant emergency numbers for anybody at the house. So there's help. I also included from the VA website for the military families. There's also help that you could use to talk to somebody. You could also call the 877-927-8387 to speak with another combat veteran about your experience. These services are available 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, providing confidential support and understanding from someone who has lived through similar experience. That information is found in the VA website and is available for any military families that might be experiencing any parts of the grieving process at the moment. Okay, like everybody, like every webinar that we have done, we offer support. So if anybody wants to reach out to me, please reach out to Jamie at the Southwest Collective. She will give you my personal information, and I'll make myself available to talk to you and help you navigate any feelings that you might be experiencing for grief or any other mental health condition. Once again, my name is Veronica Armenta, and I'm here to help. This is the last webinar that we do for our series here in Chicago. You could find a copy of our series in the website and also on YouTube. So please don't doubt to connect if you're experiencing any of the symptoms listed during today's presentation, or if you want to reach out for help, please do so. 988 is always available. The website in the military families or Southwest Collective is always available, and to give out the number to connect you with the healthcare provider. Thank you so much, and thank you for staying with us until the end of this presentation.
Thank you so much, Veronica, for doing this and providing a space for active duty and former active duty military members. I think it's more than just one day, so it's really important to do these sorts of things for folks. I would like to say too, our upcoming community meeting is July 11th. We'll be We'll be just kind of giving some updates about some things that we're doing for the back half of the year. So if you're interested in connecting with us, that information is available on Facebook and on our website, swcollective.org. This is a place where you can come once a quarter to meet us in person, talk to us about what we're doing, and if you'd like to get involved, or if you need some help with something. It's a great place to connect with us face to face and talk about things personally. So please do join us July 11th. That information again is on our website, swcollective.org.
Well, thank you very much and have a beautiful weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamie.
Bye, everybody.